Welcome back on the AM show. Of course, today we have quite the package for you. Don't you forget, today is when we kickstart our EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. My colleague Bernice Abubaidud-Lansa will be live from the Accra International Conference Center. But before we get into that, big story. We have her joining us here in the studio today. A man who calls himself the finest. We all call him His Royal Blackness. He is an ace broadcaster, a legend, so to speak, in that space. He is a businessman, an orator par excellence, and a royal as well. This morning, we're pleased to give you the man himself, Kwasi Kyei Darkwah. Nana.
Oh, my brother, I must say, without reservation, that you are brilliant. I love the way you speak. I love your choice of words. You're definitely a logophile. Many people are logophiles, but not all of them have the ability to enunciate the way you do. And if you will find the time...
If I were white, I'd be blushing.
No, and if you will find the time and your family will let you,
right,
please go through the schools and help with oral English. All culture is embedded in language. And if people can learn whatever language they choose, including their own,
right,
it will serve them well when they deal with other cultures. Thank you very much for what you do for your motherland. I love you, brother.
Thank you so much, KKD.
And I can't give you something as you sit, so if you will rise and come over.
Sure.
This
Definitely.
This is yours.
Wow.
It contains four...
Nana came with gifts.
It contains 4 Idinkra symbols, and I will tell
May
you
I?
which 4. You are one of the 4, but when we sit down, we can do that.
Sure.
And this is also a little thing to wet your whistle. I wanted to find something made by a Ghanaian.
Okay.
So when I spend the money, a Ghanaian benefits.
Right.
So I bought this from a Ghanaian company, especially for you.
Thank you so much, Nana. Uncle T, red wine. Wow. Okay.
He's a Ghanaian.
So guess what? I, together with my team, will have a lot to celebrate today with ribbons and all. Nana, remember what's Nasi?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for joining the conversation. I think I'll just put this here somewhere, at least so we can...
Put it where it cannot fall.
Yes, let's do so. Nana must sit before I get seated myself. I nearly breached all the protocols. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much for coming. We're actually very grateful.
My big brother, we were in the same secondary school, pre-secondary gone.
Yes, you're on that year.
He was my senior. He and Ferret and Frank Edu were seniors that I loved very much. And I still continue to see them as my big brothers. Wherever they are, they will always be my big brothers. Because those who were born before you, whether you like it or not, if you consider them family, remain elders in your family.
You know, coming face to face with you, this is my first time. I have admired you from afar for a long time, so this is a shared admiration. And listening to your voice, no wonder. So mellifluous.
The voice is not something that I had any choice in. It is actually the lotto I won in the gene pool. Because when my father chose my mother to be the woman that he will bear children with, and first honored her before they started a family by going to ask for her hand in marriage, as should be the case for all of us, I got the best genes of my mother. She's kind, she's honest, she's dignified. And I got the best genes of my father. He's playful, he's dignified.
That you are.
And more importantly, he's always purposeful. Purposeful.
Let's get into some very purposeful conversations then on the show. It's going to be a bear it all conversation we're having with KKD this morning, who joins us. We're going to be talking about the state of Ghana today, the economy, among other very pertinent matters. But just out of curiosity, Nana, maybe even before I check out this box that you've given me, this gift, lovely gift, and I'm going to be opening it shortly. But I've noticed that in recent times you've been donning black. Is there any reason?
The first reason actually is because my carpenter has passed away.
Your carpenter has passed away?
Who I love, because he's a great artisan. And without artisans, no nation can be built. Because we cannot live in a country where if we want to build any house that matters, we have to import foreigners to do it. a great carpenter called Richard Amega. But he looked at his father's name and he says, bro, me pese me dino me Amega V. Because, but you see, that's big and then small again.
Small.
So Richard Amega of Community 8, Tema, may his soul rest in peace. And he's passed away because of poor medical services in Ghana. So poor that now he had to travel all the way to Tamale to seek the assistance of a herbalist. I mean, it's worrying. Even the doctors are complaining. We need better hospitals, we need more hospitals, we need better facilities, we need more facilities. And if we will not preserve life first and foremost, everything else that we are chasing is absolutely poppycock. Life. For even if you want somebody to worship God Almighty, first and foremost, they must be alive, that they must sing to his glory. And it saddens me that he's gone, because he had a great father who himself too was a carpenter and who was my father's carpenter. So I'm not waiting for somebody whose name is written in the political diaries to pass away for me to don black. I celebrate my carpenter.
The ordinary man.
I celebrate my carpenter. Richard is a good man. And I pray that his 2 children that he's left behind will be well looked after by all the friends, because I don't have much. But whatever little I have, I will share with his family.
God bless your heart, and our condolences to Richard's family as well. I'll be sharing with you something shortly on the back of Agenda 111, because President Akufo-Addo has been speaking about that, some seed money and all of that. But let's quickly do this, because you've been kind enough, so here we are.
Should I name them as you bring them out?
Yes.
This
is actually reflected
should I put it down?
On my ring as well.
Yeah, because I have to ask camera. This is
I think maybe if we held it up this way, it would be better.
Well,
right.
Your manicure is quite beautiful. So.
Oh, so
this is the teeth and the tongue occasionally have a fight.
Right.
But they still have to work together. And this, I speak of all the people who serve Ghana. When one of us who we love is wrong, let's tell them. We don't become their enemies because we tell them. They may be angry when we first tell them. We may be hungry at the time we tell them.
Right.
Well, I am not hungry. I am fortunate to come from a family where Papa try, so Pikin no dey suffer. If Papa no try, Pikin go suffer. So I am fortunate. My father is richer than me, in the same way as I today am richer than my children. It is my prayer that their children will be richer than all of us, because that is the way it goes in society. So the teeth and the tongue may fight, but they will still have to learn to live
together, work together. And of course, that friction can be expected. Let's go to the next one, which actually I mistook this for Jinyame, but this is actually Jinyame.
Jinyame now. So Jinyame, fear no man. Fear God.
Right.
For if you fear God, there will be no need to fear man. For those who are so meek of mind that they let people in fleeting possessions of unnecessaries in life think they have to bow and fear them. Remember, fame is vapor. Cash is paper. Power is fleeting. Honesty is forever. Fear no man. Speak the truth. Speak the truth. And as it's written in Desiderata, which I learned when I was 11 years old, go placidly amongst the noise and haste and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak the truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others. Even the dull and ignorant, they too have their story. Speak the truth with courage, of course.
A man of wisdom is here with us. The messages coming in are coming through thick and fast. I'll be sharing some of them with you later, but on to the next one. So there are 2 left. Next one.
Akubeng. Akubeng calls the people to battle. For a people who are afraid to battle will never have peace. Sometimes you must tackle the squalor in your society. Sometimes you must tackle the corruption in your society.
Right.
I am pleading with all of you, as well as my dear brother Evans with his beautiful big head, because his brain is so large. God was so kind to enlarge the skull so his brain will fit in.
Right.
And my handsome brother,
I think that's a shared tribute.
And my
together with me.
Oh, it's with you. And my fine brother Kojo Youngson, who like you is also doing a fantastic job. And my dear sister, who is speaking for the nation in her writings and in her speech. Her name slips my mind immediately. I just told you before we came in.
Araba Kumse.
Araba Nyankopon Shira. We are Yasantua wate. We are Yasantua. We are Yasantua Nyankopon Shira. Because when men get so weak that they look beneath their belt and see no balls, women must rise and lead men. We are Yasantua Nyankopon Shira. Akobeng is the horn that calls the people to battle. We are not battling with ammunition. For in the days of old, people would send poor people's children with rifles to go ahead and be killed by the enemy. In fact, foolish leaders will see the wives of others in a bathroom and send that they be sent to the battlefront, that they be killed, so they may lay with the wives of the warrior. King David, what happened to him? We must learn. We must learn, for all those who refuse to learn their history are bound to repeat it.
The mistakes of the past.
So we battle with words. We battle with thought leadership. We battle with our conviction. We battle with honesty. But more importantly, we battle with courage. For those who are not courageous are the enablers of corruption and evil.
It's often said that when wrong is being done in society, it is not those perpetrating the wrong that are most to blame, but those who know it is wrong and keep mute.
Well, some of them don't know it is wrong, because let's be fair, in every society, just like in the fashion industry, at the very top of the pile, we have haute couture. Then beneath haute couture, we have the super brands. Then beneath the super brands, we have the fashion designer brands. Then beneath the fashion designer brands, we have the high street brands. Then beneath the high street brands, we have the budget brands. And then beneath the budget brands, we have what you call foods, which is actually charity shops. And then beneath the charity shops, we have the junk that people may bring to us to sell for cheap, but 50% of which goes into the landfill to destroy our nation. Because Opeteku knows that if he keeps that dirt in his nation, he will pollute his nation.
Right.
So so-called businessmen will bring the dirt as well as the good ones. For every bale of used clothing that comes to Ghana, 50% is at Aloblushi. We are killing ourselves. It's the same with human beings. You have the thought leaders who have self-actualized, who do not look at possessions to see themselves as great, who are competent in their field of endeavor, and that competence gives them confidence, which the ignorant call arrogance. And then beneath them, there are leaders elected by the people to serve. They don't have the wisdom nor the courage of the thought leaders, but they are the ones who are able to manipulate and maneuver, some with truth and some with Machiavellian moves, and they lead. And then there are those who watch and condone the folly and stupidity of any leader. And beneath them, there are the followers. They believe they have found their shepherd, they are sheep. And even when they find that the shepherd is the one who owns the slaughterhouse and will kill them, they will still be silent. For once in a while, the shepherd may throw them some grass. And beneath those followers, there are the definitely despicable. If you read Class, written by Jilly Cooper, at the bottom of the social class is the definitely despicable. Those are the people who only think of their belly. They will cry poverty whenever they can. A lot of times they will cry, we were not given a chance, because they themselves refuse to try. But the definitely despicables are the ones who empower the bad leaders. Why? Because they are worse than the followers. Some of them are rich because the followers throw them a bone from time to time. Give a dog a bone. But if those definitely despicables and the followers don't get educated and enlightened to see that Opeteku is sharing our meat for us, and what is left is a bone, nothing changes.
Right.
Because they are
so let's quickly do this. Of course, all this talk reminds me of two things. One, the Greek philosopher King, and two, PLO Lumumba.
Of course.
When he talks about how we vote hyenas into office in Africa. And you know what hyenas do? They feed on the sheep.
Of course.
But anyway, let's get into this last symbol and get into...
And this, for me, next to Jinyame, may be the most eloquent of symbols in the Dinkra today in Ghana because of the dispensation we are in.
Right.
Because we have seen leaders who insulted others before them, who denigrated others before them,
right,
and have come to do worse. But this is a simple one. It is called Funtum Funefu, Denchem Funefu. When the fru ya ba kope, Nansu wo didi ana woko. Funtum Funefu, Denchem Funefu. When the fru ya ba kope, Nansu wo didi na woko. So this is the double-headed croc, right? They have only one belly, but they fight for every morsel of food because of the taste they will enjoy on their tongue.
Right.
So they will deprive their own brother, without whom they cannot fight the stranger, the neighbor who wants to attack them. They will deny them food. They will take their food away. They will hoard that food after they have fed their children and their dogs. They will make sure that those who do not bow to them are not fed. And when their house is burning, they will call the fire service. And some of those who are not fed are in the fire service. When armed robbers attack them, they will call the police. And some of those who are not fed are in the police. And when the nation is not fed, they will call the soldiers. And some of those who are not fed are amongst the soldiers. And when they want to do a campaign, they will call you the journalists. And some of those who are not fed are you the journalists. And when they have vehicles that they want to service, they will call the mechanics. And some of those who are not fed are the mechanics. And when they die after promising to give things forever to others, they will want a coffin. And some of those who are not fed are the carpenters that will make the coffin. Funtum funefu, denchem funefu. When the fru, eya ba kope. Nansu wo didia, na wo ko. Ni nyina na efidie ntia, na efi techremadentia, na techremade udie echi bebre a wo yare. We nya gauta. Ubenya diabetes. We nya diabetes, ubenya heart attack. Look around. Look around at those who you think are wealthier than you. And after you've counted all their wealth, go and see the medication they take. And look at the state of their health and see if you will want to be them.
So let's do this, KKD. Let me gather my treasures into the box very quickly. These are food for thought.
The four I have named must pick one each and remember to fight on for Ghana. There are many of you here, but I am not rich enough to get everybody a present. But I have given it to four. Four strong pillars of society. Help us build this mother Ghana.
And it's a task we are up to and we shall live up to. Thank you so much, Nana. But as you spoke, all these reflections on the Adinkra symbols, of whom were you speaking?
I speak of people who know their name. Some will hate you, pretend they love you now. Then behind they try to eliminate you. But who Jah bless? No man curse, then love will pass a word. Some will eat and drink with you, drink with you. Then behind they susu upon you, susu upon you. Only your best friend know your secret, and only he could reveal it. Sing with me. And who the cap fit, let them wear it. Who the cap fit, let them wear it.
So
I speak of people who have been elevated in positions of power to be shepherds.
our politicians?
Of course. And not only them, our contractors. And not only them, some people are even in the education space who have gotten to a point where they must go and rest for their sons and daughters and their nephews to also have employment. The kids are feeling hopeless. If your father is 84 like mine and he's sitting on a board, he's alive only because it is illegal to shoot him. What is he still doing on a board at 84? My father called me one morning. I have to say it in his words because my father has a certain cadence in his voice. Kwasi Kyei na ho te say me doba Kwasi Kyei ye dia asema na wakoka amanfo frefre me a politicians adada asebia sisi akra no wo nka ho ne yeso frefre me Kwasi ye dia na wakoka. That's my father. And I said, I mean, can't bonnet. I say, I'm the only kind of happen. I'm catching some me back with Kwasi Kyei. Sabi a man or peck a cran a man so pen. No credit or capa. No credit or capa.
Is this recent? Very recent?
This is only maybe 4 or 5 days ago.
Okay, so I get the drift now.
So, and then he says, that is to say, please, if you would like for me to say a word of advice to my son, start by letting me know the facts of the matter. So send me what he actually said. Don't send me commentary, because in the Darkwah family, we don't comment on commentary. He told them. And my father speaks eloquently. My mother too. But my mother chooses to speak in Akan because she says, like Kwawansa, all culture is embedded in language. So they sent my father the video. And he looked at the video. So he says, Kwasi, video no ma hwɛ prensa, which is 3 times. Kwasi Kyei, me doba Kwasi Kyei, wo mu beku, Kwasi Kyei wo mu beku. Na akromfo ne apobofo de, wo mu beka no kra no wo mu beku, which is to say, Kwasi, I have watched the video. They will kill you. They will kill you. The corrupt and the liars hate people who speak the truth. They will kill you. But Kwasi Kyei, my advice to you, all you said is the truth, so continue. Now that is my father's backing.
Your father told
says,
you
yes.
He's afraid they will kill you. And
Yes.
they here being who exactly?
Well, if you have gray matter, you know.
Right. And yet encouraged you to go ahead
Yes.
in the national interest.
Yes. Chiefs have called me. A chief called me and I have to explain this in English. I've promised him I will not say his name, but he has given me permission to share his words. He called me, I was in bed with the woman who covers my nakedness. So when I saw it was him, I rose. And I said, Nana Micho Kruse, which is to say, Nana, I have risen and saluted you. He says, Kwasi, go to your living room. I see that's the throne which Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah sat in when he was handed over the reins of power in Ghana. You have one in your living room. Go and sit in it, for I want to speak to you. And I sat down. I said, Nana Martins. He says, Kwasi Kyei. It doesn't work off Kwasi Kyei. And then he went, Where Bema? Where Bema? Where Bema? He said it 3 times. Nana has never spoken to me like that before. I will not say his name, and nobody should think too hard to put anybody's name on it. Because Adansi has many chiefs. Asante has many chiefs. And the chief who called me is from this space. Togbisri is my father. Togbisri is an Ebe. Togbisri is related to the Ashanti. Because Asante Hine, the family of Asante Hine, married a child of Togbisri, a Tamaklo.
Let me quickly ask you this. Sir Sam Jonah,
Yep.
in recent times, has spoken about a culture of silence.
Yep.
And you say that on the back of these thoughts that you've been sharing in the last few days, people have been calling you. Do you feel threatened?
And death threats.
Are you afraid for your life?
No. You know what? I've enjoyed too much of life. I have had happiness, and I've had the lower version of happiness, which is pleasure. I've had plenty of it. I've eaten in some of the places that some of the people in political office are now seeking to dine in.
You have nothing to lose.
What have I got to lose? My children are great speakers. We go to battle in this day and age with speak, and thought leadership. My son at 15 became the world's #1 youth speaker through the Jack Peche program. The world's #1 youth speaker at 15, right? My daughter at 14 became the top youth speaker in Kensington and Chelsea, where the Prime Minister lives in England, and Westminster, where the Queen lives in England. They are thinkers. I don't force them to think like me. They think for themselves. But what the chief told me, he says, Kwasi, you have called kings, you have called chiefs, you have called great men, and you have called wise men like yourself. And you have asked us to bow before you, and you have put kichre upon our head. They don't have that word in the English language because, like I told you, culture is embedded in language. So you have wrapped a cloth to serve as relief and put it upon our heads. And you have carried us with messages that we may go out and share. And I said, Nana, abakwa semwedia esome, which is, Nana, the statements you are making are beyond me. He says, Kwasi, do you know the professors and great men who are sharing your messages to me? Some from Kenya, some from Nigeria, some from South Africa. You have spoken for your nation, not just for Adansi and Asante and Aigbe and the North. You have spoken the thoughts that are in the minds and the sentiments that are in the hearts of the people. Right. And they believe you because they know you are neither NDC nor MPP, even though you vote too.
And that's an interesting twist. Of course, we all have our own political affiliations, and sometimes it's like a pendulum. We swing depending on what the issues are. But you suggest then that there is a culture of silence.
I do not suggest that there is a culture of silence. I suggest that there is a culture of mouths that are so full that they cannot speak.
Right. But someone else would also say that you are also, by some of your words, I mean, your last diatribe against Ken Ofori-Atta.
No, I didn't diatribe against Ken Ofori-Atta. I diatribe against the Minister of Finance.
Right.
See, this is where...
So it's the office.
This is where the construct of our thinking and our speaking fails us. It is the office.
So it shouldn't be personalized, of course. It is the office.
The man has his illnesses, I have my illnesses. I will not trade my illnesses for his. He has his possessions and lovers. I have mine.
The thinking is that
you are for his.
Yes, there's the office, and I understand you. Good. But there is a man in that office.
Yes.
And the thinking is that you are antagonizing
the office
and the system at large.
Exactly.
Do you have any motives on that?
My motive is, and people have called me. Some are saying we have these groups. You come and lead all of us. And I've told them I'm not interested in politics. I was interviewed by Frema Dunyami, somebody who I love and love her children too. And she asked me the same thing. She says, Kwasi, you have had this thinking, you have had this ability. Ever since you started GBC at the age of 19, we have watched you, we have heard you. Even when you play music, you talk philosophy. Why don't you go into politics? And I said, it is not for me. There are certain skills that you need to do to make a life in politics that I do not possess. I possess the gift of oratory. I do not possess the gift of thievery.
Do you think our politicians are dishonest?
Not all of them, but some of them are. But the problem is, if you have 700 policemen and 70 of them are killers, murderers, thieves,
which is 10%,
and the 630 will not call them out for them to be taken out of the police, then all the police are murderers, liars, and thieves.
Let me ask you a pointed question.
Good.
We have leadership in this country. The chief executive of the country is Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
I have leadership in my home. Sometimes
Vice President is Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia.
Good.
Let's focus on these two people. Do you feel they are honest based on what they've told us, based on what we are seeing now, based on some of the things you see happening in our country? Would you brand them as being honest?
This is something for which you should have footage already sitting down. Can somebody play Nana Addo's voice when we made him president? Producer, if you don't have it, please find it. You know, my master's degree.
We can always reflect on what he said.
Sometimes, you see, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And moving images are worth 1,000,000 words.
I'm sure you're suggesting...
I'm not done. I'm answering the question.
Right.
See, sometimes You guys ask questions and you want to hear yourself again. Let me answer the question.
Go ahead.
If you don't have that video to play, I will not answer your question. Play that video. You are a TV network. For this program, your producers should look at all the things that can possibly come up. And that is the essence of a producer.
I agree.
To have them all already lined up, play them on the screen. Have you got it now?
In that same vein, we'll try to get it.
Until we get it, I will not.
But I think I know exactly where you're going.
You don't know where I'm going.
Well,
you don't.
I may.
Play the voice.
But we all do recall when the president spoke about defending the public purse.
Lady camera,
and all of that.
Tell them to get.
So we'll get on that.
I personally sent it to the producer in case he doesn't have it.
So KKD, here's the thing. You also know that in this terrain, it will take some time to get something like that. So my producers are working on that.
No,
we'll get the video.
It shouldn't.
We'll get the video shortly.
Fantastic.
But so in the interim, what picture do you contemplate when you see Ghana today? You've lived for almost 6 decades in this country.
Well, I'm only 56.
Yes.
I've got 4 to go.
What picture do you see of Ghana today? And just reflecting on the Fourth Republic.
Let me show you
how different is it?
Let me show you the picture I see of Ghana today. I see a Ghana of very bright and talented people, like Bright Simmons.
Play on words.
My junior in prison. I see Ghana as a country of industrious people, like Ernest Ofori-Sapon, my junior from Brisek. I see a Ghana of brilliant businessmen who know how to use money and who understand the supply chain management in every field of their endeavor, like CB Asante, my classmate from Brisek. I see a Ghana of so many brilliant people who are in a vehicle and who have chosen somebody to take us on a path in that vehicle. And that somebody we chose, we give him the power to surround himself with whoever he wants. Because whoever you are, no matter how brilliant you are, you serve at the pleasure of the president. Unfortunately, I see a Ghana where the president, I think, is indebted to some of the people he has appointed. And because of that debt, he's unable to let them go. Now, I don't think the leader is evil, but you judge a king by his courtiers. So if the leader is surrounded by people who are facetious, who are disingenuous, you and I, the Fourth Estate, have a duty to help remove those people, because many of them, you and I, did not vote for. And if he will replace those people, as is the call today, I don't like the word reshuffle. I don't like it.
Right.
I like the word radical displacement of the hopeless.
We have democratic practice,
Yes.
and there were guidelines.
But he appointed them.
Right.
And the democratic practice is you serve at my pleasure.
Right. He also has he has the pleasure of not reappointing these people or not reshuffling them, which he has stated in recent times, that he feels they are performing extremely well.
You have already asked your question. Don't add any more. So the answer to that is, remember why you are there. Remember who you are there. You know, when we're building brands, one of the things we do is we look at persona profiles. Let me give you the persona profiles of Ghana. There's the child with polio living in a ghetto. There's the boy and girl who cannot go to school unless they cross a river. There is a young man in university whose parents are both dead and has no scholarship. There's a young lady who's also very brilliant, but who is the child of a single parent. And because of that, those she has asked for help have asked for her to spread her legs that she may be able to pay her university fees. There is the businessman who has taken loans to invest, and every time he brings goods into the country, if those we have elected because of what we call their competence, out of which they have got their confidence, do not do their work, and the currency plays, the monies they borrow from the bank, they are unable to pay, and they and their children will be homeless. So and there are the people like you and I,
right,
who are some modicum of well-off. Modicum. And I use modicum because I really
It's good you say that. A modicum.
some modicum of well-off.
Right.
And the well-off is not because of our possessions, but because of what is in the skull and in the heart. And then there are those two who are blessed to have had parents who worked exceedingly hard to leave them a good name or good property. So no matter what happens, they are safeguarded. And on the other hand, there are those whose parents stole from the nation and built things for them. And now they thumb their nose at the poor and they tell those people, your parents are useless. They didn't do anything in life. So let me tell you something. Do you know SIC?
I do.
State Insurance Corporation?
Right.
Good. Because of state capture, SIC, which belongs to all of us, is lost business. Now, I want you, and I'm charging you, the Fourth Estate, because I was retired in journalism. I was only commenting now because I feel self-actualized. And those in our society who feel self-actualized should sit on radio stations and TV stations and see what is wrong and speak. Because all you can do is kill us. There's nothing more. If I die, my name will live on in the heart of Johnny Hughes. My name will live on in the heart of so many broadcasters, not only in Ghana, but around the world. And many who I have influenced over the years. A minimum of 12 million people. Those people will mourn me in their hearts. We don't need a grand funeral in front of anywhere for me to be remembered.
We pray that
the point I make
no such thing happens.
is that look at the state capture that has denied SIC of work. 10 years from now, some stupid child will sit down and say, and the hopeless managers we put in SIC, let it go to waste. When SIC managers are calling me to speak for them, that Kwasi, if you don't speak...
What exactly is going on at SIC? But before we get into that,
go on.
Before we get into that, the video you requested...
It's ready.
It is ready. But what portion do you want us to reflect on? Because it is a pretty lengthy video.
Good.
What portion do you want us to
play the video
reflect
where he says, and I repeat, those people who want to come into my government with a view to making money. And I added this for him because I think he thought it in his heart. Those greedy hyenas and vultures who will come as though they come to serve the nation, but to grab for themselves. Go into the private sector because you can't do that in my government. That's the part I want you to play.
All right, so we'll be playing that shortly. Let's go ahead and watch what Mr. President said that particular time.
Coffers are not spoiled for the party that wins an election, but resources for the country's social and economic development. I shall protect the public purse by insisting on value for money in all transactions. Public service is just that, service and not an avenue for making money. Money is to be made in the private sector, not the public, and measures will be put in place to ensure this. We must create wealth and restore happiness to our nation. We can only do this when we have an educated and skilled population that is capable of competing in the global economy. We must expand our horizons and embrace science and technology as critical tools for our development. We believe that the business of government is to govern. Ours is to set fair rules. We will provide vision and direction and shine the light down the path of our entrepreneurs and farmers.
So the business of government is to govern. We've heard the president and what he had to say at his inauguration. Over to you, KKD.
Fair. He used the word fair.
Right.
He used a word that I think you didn't play exactly the part I wanted, but if you listen to that, it is clear that they will set fair rules. What is fair about the fact that if you're in the public service, if you're a messenger, an officer, principal, or a director, as I was a director in government, just in case you guys don't know. I love public service. I left because I had to go back to London to be there for my children.
Right.
And if you think of the fact that you say fair, and the Public Services Commission, call anybody on that and ask them, if you work in the public service, if you're a messenger, you cannot do any other job. Now, if you're so brilliant that the whole nation has never seen your brilliance before,
right,
and you think you are Elon Musk, you don't seek to be the minister for, or what they call Secretary of State for Technology. You go out there and make a Tesla. Everybody wants to act like they are kings. You're not a king. You're not our leaders. You are servants. Be servants. Then you will become leaders. You understand servant leadership, don't you? So what is fair about somebody who is running a business, which clearly can make so much money, whether in this government or the other, but decides he's not well? And I'm talking of a minister. And so he has resigned.
Which minister specifically?
Minister for Finance.
Right.
And so, because he is not well, resigns from his business, but now comes to serve government. If you're not well to run your own business where you can work in your own free time, are you well to run government business? Are you so brilliant that there's none more brilliant than you? And now you are there, and for all the bonds, people who don't understand bonds is essentially debt. Debt. So you are sitting there as a Minister of Finance, and somebody appointed at the presidency as what? Another word. What's the title of my younger brother Edubuahin's son? What is his title?
Well, some have said Deputy Minister of Finance, but we also know that he's a Minister of Finance at the office of the presidency.
Wastage, purposeless wastage. Purposeless wastage, like Minister of Information.
I've been told.
No, please, let me answer the question.
Hold on, let me just interject here. Let me just interject here. We've been told that they have the men and they need these men in pole position so that they can deliver what they promised to the people. That's what Mr. President said at his inauguration.
And those men, every time Ghana gets poorer, they get richer. All of a sudden, a whole nation has fallen into stupor and squalor. We now cannot even define conflict of interest. All young people watching me, Google conflict of interest Investopedia. It is the idiot's guide to conflict of interest. And when we say idiot's guide, it's not an insult, because there are books called the idiot's guide. Yeah. It is in the simplest possible terms for the lowest common denominator. Look, I love Ghanaians. I love Nanado. I've loved him for 35 years. But if his wife and his own children and his stepchildren and the people he has appointed to serve him cannot tell him the truth, somebody must, because this whole nation cannot burn because of Acans. Go to the Bible and read Joshua chapter 7 and read the story of Achan, the man who stole from God. Because of him, a whole people lost battle. It had never happened before. And until he stepped forward and said, I'm sorry, I'm the one who stole, and was stoned to death, and his wife and children were stoned to death, and his cattle and dogs and chickens were stoned to death, that nation would never go into battle and win.
Pardon the interjection, but is Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo that person you speak of in this context, who basically, because of his actions and inactions, is leading us down the slippery slope of...
He's not the one I speak of. And sometimes I understand that journalists must ask questions to get their clickbait. I speak of those around him who clearly are benefiting from the failure of the nation. Okay. Because as the nation fails, so they make profit. So, like I sang, who the cap fits, let them wear it. Why is a pensioner who has served honorably, in dignified manner, knowing full well the number of people who need jobs, still getting another extension? Why? He is one of them I speak of. Why
the
are
deputy
people...
director at the GES.
Why? There are so many more. Why is it? I have sent your producer certain things which I think he feels uncomfortable to put on air. Why is it that in a nation where there is so much competence, so much ability, and also so much wealth, well, the wealth is not qualified by the taxes people pay? Because if you're arriving in Switzerland or the United States of America, and it is not jealousy when the police arrests you for beating and killing a woman. It is not jealousy when the police arrest you from stealing jewelry from a shop. So too, it is not jealousy when we talk about what is wrong in our society. But the thoughtless and those who others will vomit into their mouths to go and insult their elders will defend wrong, because wrong is defined by who is giving me the crumbs of his table.
And I've heard you talk about some people in that light recently, but I think I would stay away from
because they are not, I wouldn't even. They are not part of the elders. Where I address the elders. I address
spitting into the mouth
the leaders.
Right.
When you let people spit into your mouth for you to go and insult others. No. My royals have called me. They have told me, Kwasi, you have an explanation to do. My royals are my elders. The politicians are our servants. And if they serve well, we elevate them further and call them leaders. And then we call them our elders.
Kwasi, we'll go back to the SIC question that you brought up. But I'd just like to find out from you.
It's state capture. State capture.
Right.
Good.
In that clip we played, some portion of it, the president talks about defending the public purse. Are you seeing that?
No. Nope. The president is somebody I've loved for 35 years, and I'm proud to say it. And some people think I must denounce him. I will never denounce him.
Why?
When I love you for life. But my loyalty is not to people. My mother told me this. My loyalty is to values. So the people who uphold those values will retain my loyalty. But when they trample those values, I withdraw my respect, I withdraw my loyalty, but I may still love them. In the same way as I love the sinner, but I may hate the sin. I love Nanado because Nanado has been a mentor for so many lawyers in this country, for so many legal luminaries in this country. And I say so, not just about him, but also for Chachu Chikata. I say so, not just about him, but also for the man who set up the biggest law firm in this company, Bella, for which Isankoma came to work and became a part owner. So you see, we have people who have actually done great things for this country, and we cannot denounce them, because no matter what they do wrong, it will be like in Zimbabwe, where they had a great leader who did great things for the country, but got to a point where he made things fall apart.
Let's stay on that trajectory. So SIC, you say there is state capture. What exactly have you seen? What have you heard?
It is not what I've seen or heard, but I'm going to talk about the indolence of journalists as well, and the fact that some of the journalists are sellouts, and I will not name you. There are people, and I named 4 here, that are doing a great job. For every radio or TV station I go to, I can speak truth quietly and clearly to all of them, and I can find those 4 too. That is not to say others will not do good. But there are journalists who only look at their belly. And that means if somebody in a position of authority wants to sleep with your wife, you will cover her in oil. You will dress her and serve her on a tray to him. Because your duty as journalists, and I trained as a journalist before going to study film and television production, and I'm now doing my PhD as well. Your duty is to first dig, seek, search, retrieve. After you retrieve, don't only look at the facts, analyze the facts. For facts can be used to paint untruths. So when you get the facts, analyze the facts. So you dig, you seek, you search, you retrieve, you find the facts, you analyze the facts. It is only after you have analyzed the facts that you now are ready to have a story to give to your editor. For your editor, not just to correct your spelling, because the computer can correct your spelling, but to correct your context.
Right.
And set the context in a manner as to warn people of what is yet to come. Call people to action to what they need to do. And out of those people you have called to action, find your new set of public servants. So
let me just ask you this, maybe the final bit. You've spoken about rot. what is the rot you've seen at the SIC? Let's call you a whistleblower.
The rot is not at the SIC.
You are aiding.
The rot is not at the SIC because the managers of the SIC who have spoken to me, because that CEO who came from America is afraid that if he speaks about it, they will take the job away from him. Why are you afraid? You're paid a wage. You're paid a wage. Your wife has a job. You must say, listen, in the history of this country, the state capture, essentially go and read the Constitution. All public companies, all state-owned enterprises should engender the prosperity of other state-owned enterprises. Why? Because they generate income to do the work of state.
Right.
It is only when a state-owned enterprise cannot deliver the service that you give it to others, because we must ring-fence the work of state for those state-owned enterprises, so that if you work at GBC, which is a state-owned enterprise, the National Commission on Civic Education, if they decide we want to advertise on Joy, will still have to advertise on GBC. Why? Because when the president decides to give the station the State of the Nation address, and Lord Comey has come over to check to make sure everything is in order at the studio, the president will not come to Joy FM. He will not go to Wuntumi FM. He will not go to Peace FM. He will not go to City FM. Where will he go? Like the Queen goes to the BBC, not ITV. Where would the president go?
To the GBC.
Why?
Well, it's the national broadcaster.
That's it. And it is owned by the state. So you who work for government, who will take money away from government because you cannot take a bribe from government and give it to somebody in the private service because it is easier to get a kickback from there, you are only alive because it is illegal for you to be shot. What is wrong with us as a people? What is wrong with us? So we lay with our wives and they see what we do, and our wives cannot look at us even if other men have had them for wives before and say, now I am loyal not just to values but to you, because with you I have these children. If you do wrong and we are in China, not only will you be shot, all of us will be impoverished. If you do wrong and you are in Japan, you will commit suicide. Why do you get away with it in Ghana? Is it because we're in a state of stupor and squalor? Or is it because all the men have no testicles and we are looking for a new Yasantua? What is it? Tell me.
At least you're speaking, and you're speaking boldly.
You have spoken too.
Let's
Kojo Yankson has spoken too.
Let's get into this aspect of the conversation. It interests me because
Adongo has spoken too.
You are part of Nananum. Let's put it that way. We've had the flag bearer of the UPP, United Progressive Party, Odike, who recently spoke about Galamsey and how it is giving us a beating, how it's polluting our natural resources, especially our water bodies. And he cited Nananum and said, guess what? Some of you, the chiefs, are in there. There was huge backlash.
You see, I love it.
And recently, his office was vandalized. He himself escaped being thrashed or maybe even shot by a whisker. The question is, why should that happen?
That shouldn't happen.
Do the traditional authorities even have the right to banish him
Traditional
like they
authorities.
have?
No, traditional authorities can banish you. So for those who do not understand the culture within which we operate, all land in this country is vested in the traditional authorities. Right? And that is why, before I answer Odike's question, I want to speak to Oboshi Sai Kofi. Oboshi, we are yasan to awati. Yo jibo, yo pakpa jibo. Ganyo bi jibo. None yo fe ye airport wa fe wale. Wolo e fe wana, obo modern. Ajiebo iwa na shika. Shi Oboshi ogbo. Okpete. Okpete. The lands, including the ones at the airport, which we hear are being given. I love Nigerians. But no Nigerian will be so stupid as to give their airport to a Ghanaian to manage. I have given the document to your producer. He's afraid to put it on the screen. He's afraid.
I do not think that is the case.
No, I have given it to him. He's afraid to put it on the screen.
But we have editorial policies that we must
But let me come. So check it.
Anything on
yeah, check it. You can check it right now. Right? Those lands at the airport are for Ghanaians. The management capacity and capability for the airport is within the Ghanaian ambit. Ghanaians are hospitality.
So the country is basically up for sale.
I wouldn't say the country is basically up for sale because you cannot go and do that stupidity in Adansi. It happened some years ago that when they dug all the gold out of Adansi, they did not even fix our roads. They tried. They did what they could. But Adansi did not speak. Adansi did not speak because I come from a bedroom. My chief is Nana Amwaku Tufo, a learned professor, a wise man. He speaks in soft tones and he tells me to be fearless, but to only speak the truth. When the gold was taken out of Adansi, Adansi was not developed. Other parts of Ghana were developed. Adansi did not complain. Otumfuo did not complain. Because Adansi is part of the Ashanti region.
Let's.
But let me come to the crux of the matter.
And as you come to the crux,
Oboshi's thing that I said, Oboshi has been taken off a board because he was fighting to ensure that our heirloom does not go to foreigners. Now,
do you have facts to that?
The facts are there. You are the journalist. Why don't you have the facts? But I am a retired one. I'm your elder.
I get it. But
I am your elder.
He who alleges, you are fully
Go and do your work.
By the law. He who alleges must prove.
Exactly.
You have proof of
the proof is there. So you have the right as the fourth estate. And that is why I love Manasseh Azuri. Because some of you are cowards. I love Manasseh. Manasseh, you will never eat sand. Right? Go and tell me that's my own brother Asante Bedietio, and you cannot blame him because even though he has a mind of his own, if you go and ask Ambassador D.K. Osei before him, if you go and ask Ambassador Kwasi Kyei before him, if you go and ask any secretary to the president before him, you silence your voice to amplify the voice of your president. So no matter what conscience he has, no matter what beliefs he has to sign letters on behalf of the president. Because in the event that the president is old and frail, like we do in culture, where somebody holds the hand of a Otumfuo before he greets, it is so that whether you are young or old, if you are ill or old and frail, your hand is still held. So it's become part of the custom. So when he signs the letter, he is not the one who has authorized for something to be done. He's only a secretary to the president.
I get it, but the reason I am
asking
that letter
states
for just to interject, the reason I'm asking for proof,
you're afraid of the truth.
Proof.
The proof is in the letter there. Use the letter.
Is like you suggested.
Use the letter.
We cannot put material that we've not verified.
Promise me you will check it in 2 days and use it.
We can within
If you don't, I will talk about Joy FM. My big brother is Kwesi Chum. He was in Presec with me, Ferret, and Frank Edu. And if you don't in 2 days, I will take you to task and I will say you are enablers of corruption.
Let me just say this. Whatever information we get, we have to verify.
Verify.
That is why we are independent, fearless, and credible.
Is Evans on leave?
Evans is here with us.
So why hasn't he verified it? How many minutes has it been?
Evans is actually not here with us now, but this is something that I can guarantee.
Where's Araba?
I can guarantee
you
we are going to check on it.
I named 4 of you. There are so many. I named only 4 of you.
Not
where are those 4?
On the morning belt. But let me just say this, KKD.
No,
when we have no one information.
Every man who fears truth is an enabler of evil.
So here is the point. Just cool down. Whatever we put up, just as the BBC or any other media outlet across the world, we must verify.
The cross-check in 30 minutes at the BBC.
You do understand that the
cross-check in 30 minutes at the BBC.
Yes, but
I know
we also have our standards and
guidelines are in my hand.
Our time procedures.
I know it from the beginning.
So I can assure you, KKD, we're going to work on that.
Thank you.
Right.
I promise.
But I also must ensure, to be fair, like the law says,
yes.
Audi alteram partem. Listen to the other side.
Yeah.
We will not put. We will not. We
stop
will
talking.
Not
You're not a government communicator. You brought me here to speak. The law of journalism is he who brings a guest to the studio speaks less than 30% of the time. Allow me. And makes the guest speak more than 70% of the time. Sometimes you interrupt guests who have facts to speak because you are afraid that it may lead to libel. If there is libel, let them come at me. My father says, I must speak the truth, even if they will kill me. Tell me there is not a directive from the presidency that the airport company, and that is what, let me tell you, whenever you see that any president, and this is not only Nanado who I love, has put somebody who is meek of mind in the position of authority, it is because that is the only way they can have puppet strings to pull them up and down. Because people who have dignity, who have boldness, will tell you, this is not right.
All right.
Let us create wealth for Ghanaians, not people who are connected to your family, not people who are connected to your wife's family, not people who are connected to your friends. Open it up in a fair manner, like you said, and let every Ghanaian who is capable, let that small boy from Teshi with only one leg, who has used one crutch since he was 4 years old to go to school, and now is an accountant, also apply to serve at the Ministry of Finance. Don't let your finance minister, whoever they are, Kwasi Kyei didn't do it. Setekwa didn't do it. Bring people from their own company and then move people in positions where they are still being paid but are not doing much work. Why? What have you got to cover up? And in Ghana, let me say this because it will help you. Anybody in public service who cannot go on leave is stealing. Anybody in public service who cannot be moved for somebody to come and do the work is hiding something. I said it. Quote me. Maka ene maka na me say me kan twi kasem. Na nanom mota me chimi damase. Momfa mpaebo nta mechi. Na nea meko bia me wu a echiri mabeka me. Asante kotoko uko apem a apem beba me kasama apem. Na apem a me kasama omo empempem duo mechi. One honest child will rise if they kill me. You know, I've only been in media, brand management, and culture and tourism management all these years. Why am I speaking now? Why?
In fact, some of those sending in messages have been asking why.
Yeah, because ensure tai aponchirenia or jiwo sabita frache keke didie anko afa no ho. Onya accident wie na poma beka ho. No kind of brofo, no churo speech or abridge, no produce advertising, no produce fashion shows, now or co-events, ni etuane ka. Anka ne juma no. Anka state events, nanke ya waje. Now no produce because state events management na. Ya mfa ma ye wo fasio. Ya de ma obi a waye sabita frache. Production of film and television, or event management. The masters of those are those. Even the Pope, when he's going on a trip, the man who manages his itinerary is a producer. Yejuma no. But me menko prayer by yejuma. When my dear menko prayer by yejuma. My uncle for wa ban no. Call all of them one by one. Say wo ko aban mu wie you know. Ahene maba wo mu fie. Because you see, once you elevate and that the word I was about to say is not good. Once you elevate people who are commoners and they get into a position of authority, they take on certain airs, not because they want to take on those airs, but because of those people who are looking for crumbs off their table, who immediately start bowing to them.
Let's move the conversation forward. But I want to take you back, even at the same time, to something critical in there. The Chieftaincy institution.
Yep.
And what Odike says.
Yep.
Is he right when he suggests that some of Nananum are involved in Galamsey? And as for the issue of banishment, I asked it from a legal standpoint, not necessarily from, because yes, as custodians of the land.
From a cultural standpoint, yes.
Yes.
From a legal standpoint, you may say no.
Right.
But you see, the law is often an ass. As Isankoma told
yes,
me
but let's focus on the Galamsey point.
Yeah, okay.
Do you
He's
agree?
right to speak about Galamsey. You know, whenever we have a message, we must choose to be aggressive or we must choose to be meek and mild. Certain messages need aggression. But we must know the difference between our servants and our elders. No matter what a chief does, you don't insult him in public. You may say so of your politicians because, you know, like I told you, in the Chieftaincy institution, I serve a great chief. In the Chieftaincy institution, it is for life. Unless you do something wrong, in which case they destool you, they take off your slippers and let you walk across the water. But in politics, it is for a term or a few. So if you can understand, now, and I think the problem with Odike, with all respect, and I love him, is that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And his heart was full with anger because he has seen how our water bodies are being destroyed. But whilst he may have the power to speak in that manner to the servants we have elevated, he cannot speak to that manner to his chiefs and elders. That is only the problem.
So that is the difference.
That is the only problem.
But
That is that is not to say you can speak to the chief, because I can ask. Otumfo, Nana. You know, when I went to Kwasi Kyei, Otumfo was in his apakan. He had asked for somebody to call me, say, Kwasi, eya brabesum. So I went. That day I didn't want to wear cloth because I have a way of carrying the cloth that makes me look very magnificent. So I wanted to be subtle. I wanted to serve my king. I went there wearing white, and standing in the crowd, Otumfo saw me seated in his, what do they call the thing they carry on the head?
The palanquin.
The palanquin. And you know what he did? He asked them to move towards me, came close to me, and reached out and shook my hand and said, Menana, ubai. And then they moved away again. If I have something to tell Otumfo, I will ask for a hearing.
So in other words, Odike didn't use the right processes.
The process is what failed him. He may have the message,
right,
but when you use the message, you must also choose your tone and you must use the process. So the way I speak to politicians, I can't speak to my father like that. You see the difference?
I see the difference.
I can't speak to Nana Amwakutufo or Nana Ejenimu Boating or Nana Sanso Hini of Obuasi like that. They are my brothers. They love me.
But some of these politicians are old enough to be your fathers. And
yes, but they have chosen to be servants.
Right.
It is a choice.
So I get the distinction.
It is a choice.
Let's look at the assault on Odike.
It's wrong.
Post what?
Totally wrong. That I will say. Senanonum ene koi ana woman esmaya me the chaupa. Na minyi ni senanonum esmai. Because if you insult the chief imam will not send people to attack you. But people will attack you. I'm sure you know that.
I do.
It's happened in this country. So if you learn culture, you see, the thing is, we talk about education without enlightenment. We talk about growth without acculturation. We don't even understand who we are as a people. And because we don't understand who we are as a people, foreigners laugh at us. I remember going to my son's school many years ago because one of the teachers has asked him, how come you don't have a Christian name? Because my son is Kwasi Kyei Darkwah. So I went to the school and I asked for a hearing with the headmaster. And I asked that they call that teacher into the meeting. The headmaster says no, they want to hear from me, and then they would deal with the teacher because they don't want us to have any interface directly with the teachers except when we're doing assessments of the children. And I said, the teacher asked a loaded question, which belittled my son. Says, what is it? He asked my son, how come he doesn't have a Christian name? Does he know the religion of my son? Does he know how my son is raised? My son is Kwasi Kyei Darkwah. My pastor is Lawrence Tete. He still maintains his Lawrence. I think a lot of Ghanaians maintain their English names because maybe there was an Englishman who was their father's landlord. My father never had an Englishman as a landlord. Even in poverty, he would sleep in a small place and my mother loved him. Or say, and Papa Dankra me no Papa bedem. So, I don't see any Japanese called Kwekwa Menin. I don't see any Swiss called Asante Bedi Etio. My dear brother, who I love and defend everywhere, and those who are sending nonsense about him to me, if you have nothing true to say about him, leave him alone. He has style, so what? His style is from Ghana money. No, you don't have style. That is why you may not like him. If he has done something wrong, say it. If it is true, I will go to him and speak to him. And after I've spoken to him, in 2 months, if he doesn't do anything about it, I will speak about it publicly. I love people, but my loyalty is to values. Odike's loyalty is to values, but otumra, otu amamre, otu amanie.
There have been calls for him to apologize and all of that, and he has said that for people who suggestedly may have spearheaded such an attack, those who are being repentant would be pretty difficult. What would you proffer for him in this instance? Should he apologize to Nananum?
I will talk to him as a brother. He cannot even...
Very briefly on that, I want us to look at another issue tied to
He cannot even apologize to Nananum. He must plead with Nananum to apologize on his behalf.
Right.
Because he doesn't have the place, nor the import, to speak directly to his village chief, let alone to Otumfo. See, let's understand culture. I cannot go and speak to Nanado without first trying to make an appointment through one of his people who serve him as chief of staff, or in the greatest case scenario, through Asante Bediatio, who is his secretary.
Right.
So why do we not learn culture? And this is why I've always talked, whenever I've gone on the GBC Wednesday morning show to talk on the headlines, that we need to have education for 7-year-olds to 10-year-olds that we call civics and citizenship. See, it is not enough to know the fish fork and the steak knife. You must also know where to greet from when you go to the funeral. You must also know who to bow to. You must also know who to rise for. In Ashanti culture, women don't rise for the king because the women are the ones who install the king.
Yeah.
But I see women where when anybody comes, they all rise. Now, it is beautiful that they say out of love they rise. But in our culture, in Adanse, and Adanse has influenced most cultures in this country because the concept of the linguist comes from Adanse. It started from Adanse to have somebody speak for the king. The first public communicator in the world is in the Bible. Moses could not speak, so God gave him Aaron.
Aaron spoke.
In Adanse, in tradition, we decided that somebody speaks for the king. In the event that the king has a phase where he cannot communicate, his word is still given to his linguist, and it is spoken eloquently. Even building of houses in this country, in this tradition, in this region, is started by the Adanse. That is why they call them Adensifuo. Adensifuo. That's what we are. So if you will learn your culture, and I encourage all of you, whether you are Wasa, whether you are Igbo, whether you are Dagbani, whether you are from Bono, whether you are from Adidoma, learn your culture. Sit at the feet of your elders. For if you understand your culture, it will give you a certain confidence too.
I guess gone are the days when we had cultural studies, for example, which I studied in school, but all of those maybe non-existent today. But let me just tie this into another conversation related to Nananum. It has to do with the Agbogbo Mafia of the Asogli state, Togbi Afede, the 14th.
Who serves Tobisri.
Yes.
Good.
And he in recent times has been in the news for sometimes very positive reasons, but others would say negative reasons that he's playing politics. Why? He rejected his ex gratia after serving on the Council of State. And that became topical, over 300,000 Ghana cedis involved. Recently, he had reason to reiterate why he turned it aside. That for him, with all that he's achieved and everything, he doesn't feel Ghana should be giving him that kind of money. Do you agree with him? And for those who have lashed out at him, what do you make of them?
I agree with him for returning the money. I agree with him. On the other hand, he could have chosen to receive the money and publicly give it to charity or silently give it to charity. But you see, every nation will have certain watershed moments where one of our own will show a path of selflessness. I want you all, when we close this program, because I'm an avid reader, my girlfriend gets upset sometimes. I mean, there was a time when we're lying in bed and I would touch her and then I would read and I would touch, and she thought we're going to make love. And then she rolls over to me and I said, no, I was just using the wetness to turn over the pages. And I read because that is who I am. And those who can read but do not read are no better than those who cannot read. Go read the Constitution. Find out about the Council of State. What exactly do they do? Is it purposeful? And if it is purposeful, is the president obliged to take their advice?
He is not.
Thank you. So why do we have it? It's purposeless.
It's purposeless.
Now, what is the use of Kwasi Chum forming a board of governors for this organization? A rather moderate organization, because by all standards, it is not the biggest broadcasting network in Ghana. That is still GBC. But Kwasi Chum says, I have formed a board of governors with all the knowledge in broadcasting, in ethics, in etiquette, in all other aspects of public communication, because broadcasting is not the only public communication. and in human resource management. But the CEO is not obliged to take their advice. That organization is purposeless. It is a purposeless gathering of great people that serves us nothing, but that wastes money. And that is what I love Toby for.
What then
That is what I love Toby for. So what it is telling us is that many of our ancestors, many of those we call our leaders, who in essence are our servants, who when they do well will become servant leaders, are very mild-minded. My son, Kwasi Kyei Darkwah, said something many years ago. His teacher called me and he says, "You're going to have to get Kwaku to go into politics." And I said, "Why?" He's a Ghanaian. If he goes to politics, I want him to go and do it in Ghana. He says, "But he's a British citizen. Don't limit your son. Let him fly. Wherever he lives, he will be a shepherd." And I said, "But what has happened?" He says, "Kwaku had an argument with one boy in the school called Dexter. The argument got so heated, it looked like it was going to turn into fisticuffs. And Kwaku patted Dexter on the shoulder and said, 'Dexter, some people are wise, but you are otherwise.' Some of our leaders are wise. Some are otherwise.
Some are otherwise.
And they are helping to waste our national resources. The concept of ex gratia has to be discussed with urgency.
And that's the very next question I'm coming to.
I knew you were going to that. With urgency.
Let me just bring this in. So
cut it out. Stop it. My father has worked for 84 years, paid all his taxes.
Right.
He's not begging for anybody to give him money before he goes home. And you get a chance to serve. Give contracts. I believe, no, you don't take any bribes. But when you give the contracts, people come and thank you. And because of the position you're in, you don't queue for anything. And because of the position you're in, you don't pay rent for years. Because of the position you're in, you have access to loans and things that other people who work harder than you and who are smarter than you don't have access to. And yet, you say you cannot write a book when you get out of power. You are so meek and mild, and you are so handicapped, and you are so sick that we must look after you. I do understand. Let us maintain the dignity of the king. It is a game of chess, not checkers. Let us provide for the king when he gets out of power. Everybody else, go and continue working. Everybody else, apart from the president, even the vice president, go and continue working. Why should I look after you? Why should I and my children look after you when you have been in a position to also earn an income before we elevated you?
We have
this interesting... Stop it.
We have Article 71.
Change everything
on which all of this is founded. You're asking for a wholesale review of Article 71.
Check it out. I said ex gratia.
Right.
All of us have a national discussion immediately. I speak with the heart of a suffering Ghanaian. I am not suffering. Let me tell you something. When Nanado gets very ill, where does he go? Answer the question. We've reversed it for a minute. Let's do hard talk for a minute. When Nanado gets seriously ill, where do we fly him to?
We know our politicians go out of the country.
Not our politicians. I said Nana Addo, the president who I love and who I have loved and respected.
When it gets critical, he gets out of the country.
To where? To the UK? Maybe.
Many of these other countries.
Good. When he's vice president. Look, there will come a time where we may not even need a vice president. Because really, what exactly does a vice president do? Really, there may come a time. Because if we don't...
Is that role redundant?
Oh, please. It is totally redundant. I said so. Those who say they are intellectuals...
So Dr. Baumia's office is redundant?
He has an office which is totally redundant. What are you talking about? Even in America, what does the vice president do? Even in America, what does the vice president do? Even in the UK, what is a vice prime minister? What is that? Look, we are not talking like people who have brains. We have brains. We did not go to school to learn common sense. We went to school to learn trades. But as for common sense, it is taught at home. And when you are sufficiently taught common sense, then you get the rarest form of common sense, which is wisdom. If we say we are broke and we cannot even get hospital beds, and pregnant women are sleeping on the floor before they deliver, and good fathers who have worked and paid their taxes all their years will drive to the front of a hospital and die in a car because there is no bed. Why do we have so many? Look, if you gave me, Kwasi Kyei Darkwah, the Ministry of Culture and Tourism, I will run the whole place with a total staff of 70 people. I said so. Whoever wants to challenge me, come and sit with me, I'll show you. But I don't even want an appointment. Because right now the corruption is so bad, anybody who is not already in there, don't take an appointment. You will disgrace yourself. I don't even want an appointment.
Let me quickly...
And I've never asked for one from anybody. You know why? I am so friggin' content. Look, if you arrive in a Rolls Royce, I will walk and I'll get a seat before you. Not only in Ghana, but in all the best places to eat around the world. You may pay more, but I will get a seat before you. Why? Because I'm kind to the waiters. That's it. And if you think the customer is king, let me tell you what, the waiter is the emperor.
Let me just put this question to you very quickly. And based on what you say, I'll follow up from there.
Thank you.
Is the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, a friend of yours? Would you call him a friend?
He's a senior friend of mine.
A senior friend?
35 good years.
Great.
When we see each other, you'll see the sparkle in our eyes.
Right.
And I think that right now, he may think I'm criticizing his government too much. But one day, when he has left power, he will call me and sit with me, and we will dine, we will break bread, and he'll say, Kwasi, I wish you had spoken earlier.
And that is actually what I was about to get to.
Good.
Since you've spoken so much about the president and Nana Asante Bediato, his secretary, his executive secretary, and all
He's my brother.
You obviously have the ear
Yeah.
of Mr. President.
But I don't go to politicians. I tell you that already.
Why have you not spoken about all of these matters? Like, a lot of people are sending in messages.
It is not my job.
KKD, why haven't you been speaking about these issues until now? You could actually affect what is happening.
Have you asked your question already, or you want to continue?
Why haven't you spoken to him?
Because when you give people a job, you've got to give them time. You don't change a player in the first 15 minutes of the Champions League unless they are badly injured. You need to give them time. And usually that time is a whole first term.
It's been almost 6 years.
That time is a whole first term, right? So looking back now, I think Ghanaians were unfair to John Mahama because he didn't speak much. He had a communications team that failed him, that were more interested in hearing their own voices than to speak about the work that man is doing. I've heard things said about him. He's my brother because for me, my father's mother has ancestors from the north. And there was a time when somebody sat in company with me when we were dining and opened his mouth to say, which means we will not sit down for northerners to rule over us. I was heartbroken. I didn't say anything in company. But when we got up and were going back to our cars, I tapped him on the shoulder and I called him to the side and I told him, do you know that I have a sister called Adiza? Do you know that I have a sister called Hawa? They actually use those names. And do you know that my name from the north is Masaud? He says, oh, Kwasi, why are you telling me this? I said, because of the remark you made over there. Right? So if we could victimize this president so much, and now people in the MPP are calling me and I quote them, and these are not juniors in the MPP, and I quote them, Abba, nanado di adahu dono, nana memuono, amana yese John Mahama ye Yesu Kristo. John Mahama is not perfect.
Right.
Because the Akonfem also flew out of Ghana.
Right.
Right? Because the talk of that bauxite thing also sounded like nepotism. But is that nepotism different from what has happened with PDS? Is that nepotism different from what has happened with a nation getting poorer and a minister at the presidency getting richer of the nations getting poorer, and the minister of our financial affairs company, which some evil people. Some of them respectable men who should go quietly into the dark night so that their children may still benefit from their name. Defending this conflict of interest and without first even doing disclosure that I want to speak on this. And before anybody says anything, I want to say I am a non-executive director of Databank, so I'm actually a beneficiary.
I see. That I didn't know.
If you, of course, you know, I don't like saying his name because this is a man who is an adanse and he's also dishia like me. He serves his chief like me. I can speak because I do not sit on the big throne. But when I'm elevated to that big throne, my voice will be lost in politics. That is why I must speak now.
Right. KKD, let's wrap off the conversation.
Nana KKD.
Nana KKD.
Thank you.
Let's cap off the conversation. We're actually pressed for time. We've exhausted our time, but I had to sneak in these two quick bits.
You want a one-sentence answer? I'll give it to you.
The NPP, the current administration, wants to break the 8.
What is break the 8?
Break the cycle of 8-year tenures.
I think it is stupidity that anybody even opened his mouth to say that. Be purposeful, be intentional.
Do they deserve to break the 8?
I think it is stupidity that anybody even coined that term, right? You have married a woman for 8 years. The woman is displeased. She's thinking of leaving you. It is at that point that you now say, everything you've been asking for, I am now coming to do. If I had my way, I would say, all the people of the CPP who have left to join other parties, including all the people of the CPP who through greed and selfishness, when they were no longer the leader, decided to leave to form another party. Get back together so there will be a third force. Because what is going on is this. You may not have seen it, or you may have seen it and do not want to say it. But as for my brother Kojo Youngson, Kojo, if they sack you, I'll share my mpotompoto with you. Speak up. Because, my brother, the MPP accuses the NDC of thievery, and then they get into power. You accused somebody of thievery. Have you prosecuted them? Have you convicted them? Some even accused Ibrahim Mahama, who is my brother too, of doing things to the country. And then, when he opened his Jata Cement, they were congratulating him.
Yeah, true.
So my point is, when you now are in fleeting possession of power, what is it that hinders you from prosecuting the thieves that you proclaimed they were? Is it because you have now taken from their pot of gold? Or is it because who say one kasa wo twinye na wo we ofonsa no ahwe wonso wonsa? You have seen you are also going to do the very same things they did and worse. So if you will imprison them, you will be executed.
Nana, in 30 seconds, the way forward for Ghana.
The way forward for Ghana, everybody who loves his party, stay with your party. Don't change your party. Change your leader. Change your MP if they are arrogant. For arrogant people cannot serve. Keep them if they are competent. For competent people will have the confidence to do the right thing. But those who have a mind, because people who do not have a mind in the first place can never change it. Those who have a mind, if you are in a party which is corrupt, which is disgraceful, which you now have looked at and compared with others and have seen that, oh, in truth, they have done better than what we have. Change your mind and change your party and fill this space with new people from the ages of 21 to 72. And let all above 72 go and sit at home and play with your grandchildren. End of story.
KKD, what can I say?
Nana KKD.
Would you prefer King?
King is my first name. Kwasi King George. My full name is King George Kwasi Kyei Darkwah.
Right.
And when I got enlightened at the age of 12, I was in Presec. And that is when I decided I didn't want to be called George again. So my classmates, Henry Akufu, Said Al Mahmoud, Alberto,
Someone I actually know.
and Alberto and Gerardo Nichuga, every time they want to upset me, they intentionally call me George. Because they know.
Nana KKD. Right. You've given us a lot of food for thought, and we're grateful that you came by.
And I don't want to
today
be a political leader.
And you
because it
bared
is
it all.
fleeting. A cultural leader is for life. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Kwasi Kyei Darkwah, Nana Kwasi Kyei Darkwah. His Royal Blackness joined us in the studio today. And like we promised, he bared it all. And you might have found maybe unsavory some of what he said, but he actually said what was on his heart. Thank you.
Na nia usuro nokware no onya kwadwefo a na oye ohufo. There is only one truth. The one who is afraid of truth is either indolent or a coward.
Let's get, so right from here, we'll be connecting, of course, to the Accra International Conference Center. We have a lot coming your way today. We kickstart the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair, the final installment, which is coming off from there. A whole lot more on the AM show. Do stay. We'll be right back.